Jana asks, how long does it take to heal from decades of narcissistic abuse once you go no contact? That's a big question, and I think it depends on a lot of different factors. Let's see. Sorry, my nose itches. I'm having allergies this time of year. So everybody heals at a different rate, and there is really kind of no time frame. It's just an individual. It's an individual thing, and it's just gonna depend on a lot of different factors. I think getting into a good support group really helps. Educating yourself as much as possible about all this really helps. If you can find a good therapist, that can really help. I think also kind of examining your understandings of what happened and working through all of that. And that I think those realizations, that awareness tends to come in waves. And so I guess really at the bottom of it is just realizing that their behavior is a reflection of them. It's not a reflection of you. So depending on what you went through, if you went through like a lot of name calling and put downs and gaslighting and crazy making behavior where you really felt like you were the problem and you were doubting your sanity and your perception and all of that, to realize that you were with a person who, have a lot of issues. And unfortunately, those issues came out onto you. And that none of it was personal, even though it feels incredibly personal, even though you were the target, most likely, of a lot of this abuse, that it wasn't personal. Had you not been there, it would have been somebody else. So it's kind of the saying, hurt people hurt people. But as far as healing and moving forward, so I guess kind of understanding that it's not you, and that narcissists and emotional manipulators, they exploit a person's vulnerabilities and they exploit a person's insecurities, and they're master manipulators. And most of us just have no clue that these people are out there. Or if we do realize that they're out there, we just think that we can see them coming, and we don't realize oftentimes that we're even in an abusive relationship or that things are even a problem for a long, long time. It oftentimes takes people 5, 10, 15 years before they really realize this, in fact, is a problem. So, kind of just having that validation and clarity with all of that, there's a part of it, a big part of healing is kind of rediscovering yourself, because that's the price. That's the price of a relationship with a narcissist, is we have to sacrifice ourselves. So, because it's all about them. Like they take and they take and they take and they take, and there are these energy vampires. And if all we know what to do is give and give and give in an attempt to make this relationship work, then we're exhausted, and by the end of it, a lot of people feel like they're just a shell of their former self. So there's a large period of kind of rediscovery into who you are and what you're about. And that can be very overwhelming for a lot of people, myself included, but it can be very exciting too, because you're kind of getting to know yourself. Somebody had described earlier, I think it was on Instagram, somebody had posted something like, this is one of the hardest things she'd ever been through, and she really felt like she was being reborn for that reason. Like she just didn't have any sense of self left, and everything about her had been erased or eroded by her former partner. And here she is today trying to rebuild everything, trying to get back in touch with who she is. And so and there's a lot of other emotions that go along with that, right? There's anger, there's grief, there's sadness, there's just this whole wide range of emotions. And that's all of that is totally normal. It's all part of it. So if you're moving forward in this to try to discover, who are you and what do you like? What do you like? What are your likes and dislikes? And then that can be kind of overwhelming too, especially if you're like, I don't know. I really don't know. So I guess to just be aware that feeling that sadness and frustration and overwhelm at not knowing things that you're like, most people know these things. Most people have a sense of style. Most people kind of know what kind of music they like or know what kind of food they like, or they have more of like a routine and a solid sense of self. And if you feel like kind of adrift at sea with not really knowing who you are, what you like, or what you're about, that's overwhelming, and it can take a little while to kind of get your sea legs about who you are and what you want in this life. So I would encourage you, when you're focusing on your healing and you're finding yourself again and you're rebuilding. And again, this is kind of, later stage stuff, is to pay attention to how you feel. And kind of in a nutshell, doing more of what feels good. As long as it's empowering to yourself and to other people, right? So if you really find a lot of enjoyment curling up with a trashy romance novel, then do that. If it feels really good to go for a run, or to dye your hair purple, or to, you know what I mean, to kind of do whatever, then do that. That's okay. It's okay to be you. It's okay to express yourself. This is all part of reclaiming your power and control and finding your voice in all of this. So let me back up a little bit. The first stage for most people with this tends to be anger and rage, especially with the more education they get about narcissism. And, it's wild when you start, like you're here, so you're starting to realize, you're like, oh my gosh, it's not just me. I'm not crazy. This is valid. And that this has gone kind of, nobody pointed this out for like a long time, and that you didn't realize it was a problem. So there's a lot of like different waves of anger that come over people. And sometimes those waves of anger can lead to tremendous amounts of rage and outrage. And it can be really difficult to know how to handle that much anger when it surfaces. But it's very, very, it's just all normal. It's just so normal. There's that book that I was mentioning earlier, that Complex PTSD book, is a great one. I have a book club. It's free, and I post my notes. We're going to start doing a live stream once a month where whoever wants to participate, can read the book, and then we're going to get together for like an hour or so and then discuss the different books and our takeaways from it. But that might be something good to do as well. If you go to my website, which is thriveafterabuse.com, and you go to book club, you can see all of the different notes for all of the different books. And I think that can be there's about 9 or 10 books on there or so. That can be a great way to kind of really dive into a lot of this stuff, and to really get a good grip and understanding on it. So the more you know, I think the more it tends to contribute towards the healing and understanding. Lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this.